Coming up on this week's edition of the Mindset Podcast, episode 150, we talk about Amputee Actors. Israel strikes Syria. No digital communication is secure. And we also talk about the UFO citizens hearing undisclosure. Here's the music.
I bid you welcome.
BBC News from BBC World.
This is an NBC News special report.
This is a CBS News special report.
Hello, a very good morning. You're watching BBC News with Carrie Gracie and Simon McCoy.
From ITN News at 10.
Hello, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be around this wild, wacky, and sometimes disturbing world of ours. This is the Mindset Podcast, episode 150, coming at ya. I'm Gareth Davis in Los Angeles, California, and joining me sprinkled throughout the globe is a panel of experts. Well, I use that word loosely, but experts nonetheless. We start off with the one, the only, Mr. Alex Fate in London. Hey, Alex.
Experts.
Yes.
You know
experts.
They're the problem that find the problem, don't you? If I can speak, they're the people that find the problem.
The people that find the problems. I like that.
So without them, there is no problem.
There is no problem today, Mr. Fate. Where is microfilm?
Put a lot of experts in a room, they'll find a problem for you.
They'll find something,
even if you didn't know it was there, they'll find it for you.
They'll dig it up. So how have you been, man? It's been a couple of weeks.
I've been busy, tired, dealing with life.
Yeah.
Waking up to the news, the cheery news every day.
Oh, gosh.
This news. Who's writing it? Who's scripting it?
Isn't it amazing? It's wonderful. Huh?
It's fantastical.
Phantasmagorical.
Fantastical.
Fantastical. Speaking of fantasticals, let's shoot over to Weston Supermare and say hi to Reeves. Hey, Reeves.
Oh! I see what you did there.
Oh, no. Lovely.
Yeah, I'm all right.
Are you okay?
I'm busy. Enjoying the weather, and I.
Keeping busy. Yeah, I hear you guys having some real good weather there in the UK today.
Yeah, I think we're having our whole summer this week.
That's right. Yeah, you get it over with, and then you get straight back into the rain and the rain and the wind and stuff.
Lovely.
Brilliant. Okay, let's shoot over to Oxfordshire, and of course, Mr. Ben Emlyn-Jones. Hey, Ben.
Hey, Gareth. How's it going?
It's going, man. How you doing?
Like we said, the weather has been amazingly good these last couple of weeks, and what's more, there's a bit of a chemtrail hiatus. It seems like for some reason, they've suspended operations on the chemtrails for the last week. I don't know why. I don't know what they're up to, but some parts of England have had none at all for a very long period of time. And of course, it means we've got a beautiful blue sky and white natural clouds, and I'm enjoying it while it lasts.
Exactly. Yeah, enjoy it while it lasts. Yeah, you're right. It's like peaks and valleys with the trails. But usually, once you start seeing them, if you wake up tomorrow and you look outside and you see a couple of trails, the weather's going to change.
Yeah.
And I've seen something very similar over here, which I'll get into in a moment. But let's shoot straight across the Atlantic Ocean and say hi to Joe Dunn in hopefully sunny Florida. Hey, Joe.
Gareth, everyone. How's it going? Yeah, man. It's actually sunny today. This week it's been rainy. We've had a lot of rain coming through, but today it's actually, I went outside earlier and it's nice out. No chemtrails, Ben, so same thing here. They've suspended operations.
Get the humidity cranking up there?
Yeah, it's starting to get humid out, man. Yeah, definitely. That's the one thing we start getting this time of year.
That's the worst, dude.
Humidity, yeah.
That's the worst. I don't
know
dude.
Same thing with Alex. Just been trying to, you watch the news. I thought about what he said. It's just, who's writing this? It's crazy. So I turned on the news the other day, and I did see something about where you're at, man. Those wildfires, crazy.
I know. Yeah.
I was like, what the hell is going on down there?
It's so strange because, this is a news show and everything, but I really don't watch the news. I really try not to watch the news because it's such fucking retard garbage when I sit there and watch the news. Because the news over here isn't really news. It's entertainment.
Yeah, it really is. You notice that too? It's like they talk about entertainment shows and things like that. How is that?
Let me give you an example. This might have been a week or two ago, but there was like the 6 o'clock news or whatever, and like at 6:20, they invited some fucking chicken to show how to fucking cook some fucking dish in an oven, like a cookery show halfway through the news. And I'm like, this is like, what planet am I fucking on?
That's what I'm
It's
talking
unbelievable.
about.
But yeah, you're right about that. Right now in Southern California, we're dealing with the wildfires. The San Gabriel mountain range in California is burning to the ground as I speak.
A lot of houses burning up there, or is it just up in the mountains?
It's mainly in the mountains, but there's a lot of homes sprinkled in there or leading up to the mountains. We have there's an area not too far from me called Glendale that goes up into the mountains, and my wife was going to go to the mall there. They have a real nice mall. It's called the Americana Mall in Glendale, and she was like, "Oh, I'm going to go over," and she turned on the news, and it was like, "Glendale burns to the ground." Well, not quite like that, but fire was, and she was like, "Maybe I'll give it a miss. I won't go over there today."
It was funny. That sucks, man. Jeez, that's like you go to the mall and it's like, oh, hey, it's burned down. What the hell, man? Yeah, turn on the news this week. I was trying to get some other information besides the mainstream stuff, but forget that. But they sprinkled in the fire. I was like, they showed all this footage of helicopters dumping stuff over the mountains.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But it's not. I mean, for people like outside looking in, for other parts of the United States or the world, seeing these clips of these massive fires burning everything, you immediately think, I got messages from a lot of people in the UK saying, is everything okay? You all right? Is everything, and understandably so, because your view of what's going on is somewhat skewed. Whereas I'm nowhere near these fires. These fires, as horrible and as devastating as they are, they're affecting a tiny, tiny, tiny percentage of people that live in the Los Angeles area. But the way it's presented to the world is like, L.A. burns to the ground. You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah, same thing when we get a tropical storm or a hurricane.
Yeah, it just gets blown out of proportion. It gets crazy. But
I think that's what Alex is talking about too. Is the news how they blow that out of proportion.
Right. So. Yeah, so I mean, it is burning. But what I have noticed, this is kind of strange. Like all this past week, we've had beautiful, beautiful weather. Beautiful clear skies, blue skies, crazy hot. I think on Wednesday or Thursday it got up to like 97 degrees. Crazy hot.
Jeez.
And it's cooled down a little bit now, but now they're predicting rain for tonight and all day tomorrow. And I just got thinking, you got all these fires, and I remember watching the news the other day with all these fires, and I'm like, man, if it rained right now, this shit would be awesome. It would put this to bed in 2 seconds. And now all of a sudden they're forecasting heavy rain tomorrow and rain starting tonight, which will effectively stifle these fires. And the conspiratorial mindset that pops into my mind and everyone else on the show, you start thinking like, I wonder. Whether or not it's true, who knows? But those thoughts do pop into your consciousness. I wonder if there's if this is some weather modification to put these wildfires out. All right, let's get some business out of the way here. Let's talk about subscriptions and donations. Well, unfortunately, there has been none. 0 subscriptions, 0 donations, and we are relying on those as the lifeblood of the show or the network or the website or everything to keep us going. So if you are listening to the shows, if you do get value from MindsetCentral.com, please, please, please consider donating and or subscribing to the website. Subscribing would probably be the best option because you get access to all the subscriber features hidden away from the rest of the general listenership. And that's 2 brand new podcasts every week, and they are mounting up. In fact, it's getting so crazy, I'm really going to have to take some time to go in there and redesign the subscriber section of the website, because the amount of shows and stuff that we have in there is it's getting out of control and getting kind of difficult to navigate through it all. So So I'm probably going to go in there this week or sooner rather than later and try and clean things up and make things easier to find and to discover, because we do have an awful lot of content in the subscriber section, which you could have access to if you subscribe to MindsetCentral.com. Okay, business out of the way. Please consider doing so. If you do listen, if you enjoy the show and other shows and the website, please help us out. We really do rely on these donations and subscriptions to keep the wheels turning and to keep the shows and the site active. So help us out. All right, folks, let's get into some clips here. Now, I have a clip that I stumbled upon this past week, and I thought, this is pretty intense. And to be honest with you, this is something that Alex might have seen. When I saw it, I was very tempted to forward it to Alex, but I thought, no, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait for the show so I can play it on the show and get everyone's take on it. Now, I'm not going to...
Do you mean the UFO that was over Big Ben on Wednesday?
Are you kidding me? No.
I'm teasing you. Yeah, sorry about that one.
No,
Alex.
So what...
Go in there.
What I'm going to do is I'm not going to tell you anything about this clip. I'm just going to play it, and then I'm going to get everyone's take on it, and we'll get into it, and we'll discuss it, and we'll see how it goes. I'm very, very interested to get everyone's thoughts on this. So, as I say, I just came across this earlier on this week, grabbed the audio, and thought, let me play it. Now, this is a fairly long clip. It runs for almost 4 minutes, but I want to play it in its entirety because I think it has value here for the show and for our listeners. So, have a listen to this. We'll be back right after, and we will discuss this clip in depth.
Well, this next story is very powerful, but I've got to warn you, the image are also very graphic. You're about to meet some incredibly brave people. They're amputees doing work only they can do, training men and women in uniform. Here's our Poppy Harlow.
On this simulated battlefield, it's hard to determine what's real and what's not.
We call it hyper-realistic.
Kit Lavelle served in Vietnam and now runs strategic operations, a movie set turned training ground, preparing thousands of U.S. servicemen and women for combat.
Individuals who are going through the training here are not expecting to see an amputee. So the shock effect of seeing that happen is priceless.
The action is fake, but the amputees are real. They're actors with a unique perspective on what others would consider a disability.
It's more of a gift, and I need to share it with people. You think this is a gift? It is a gift.
Heather Morales lost her right leg to cancer when she was just 8.
Yeah, just, you can come up. I just wanted to...
Ted and June DiStefano both lost their left leg in a tragic accident.
A car came around the corner too fast and hit us. It's a trauma that's been changed, that can change other people's lives as well as my own. It's become an asset.
I went through similar training here recently, and it's as real as it gets. It's preparation that we do as journalists before we go into a hostile environment. And when I was working myself on these amputee actors, it's what made me really want to tell their story.
Yeah, well, I've met people that have already gone through the training and have gone overseas and come back and say that the training helped me.
Really?
Yeah, those are the best. When they come back and say you made a difference, those are amazing.
Having amputee actors, what does that add to this? What does that mean?
Complete realism, because it actually is more realistic, and it gives them that firsthand knowledge of what to do in case of a casualty.
Most importantly, it takes away the shock.
Personally, haven't been there. It means so much big difference to actually working with these people to actually simulate real-life combat.
Personally, I would say thank you, because they're putting out for the military personnel new experience that we need to save lives.
You can see it in their eyes that it's really affecting them.
Do they cry?
Oh, yeah.
You've had servicemen and women in training cry seeing you.
Yes, I have.
Do you cry?
Absolutely.
For the amputees, what could be traumatic is far from it.
What is it for you?
It's healing.
And it's personal. Ted served in the Navy for 21 years.
I look at the men and women, and some of them are sons and daughters and fathers and mothers.
That's someone's child that's out there.
Heather's husband also served, and she'll never forget the day a 3-star general approached her.
So he came up to me and thank you. Me?
Was that the moment when you realized the purpose of what you were doing?
Yeah. That's when I realized that this isn't just, a regular job. My goal is to make it so that someone comes home at night to their families. That's my ultimate goal.
When you go home at night and lay your head on the pillow and know that you have the ability to change someone's life, it's priceless.
A dose of perspective for all of us. Poppy Harlow, CNN, San Diego.
So this clip really made me think. Now, we know that there's been controversy in regard to this in conspiracy circles, and I know that myself and Joe ran into this a couple of weeks ago from when I posted a photograph on Facebook and got some crazy comments.
Yeah.
But having seen this clip, which details a very real program for amputees to simulate highly traumatic and devastating maybe terrorist attacks or war game scenarios, really makes you think. Now, in that clip, you listening to it is one thing, but when you actually see it, you see the way that they made up and costumed these people. Now, as you heard, we heard a clip there of a young lady who lost her leg when she was a little girl to cancer, and they had to remove her leg. Now she's an adult, but she still has, only one leg, obviously. And so what they do is they use makeup and special effects to make this stump look like her leg has just been blown off in an explosion of some type. And when you watch this clip and you see them making up her leg and painting the blood on and hanging and putting on prosthetic pieces of flesh and bone hanging off her leg, and then they put her out in a simulated street or war zone, and she's there screaming in agony, and it looks very, very real. And it looks very, very similar to some of the photographs and or footage that came out of the Boston bombing. Now, that's not to say that happened at the Boston bombing, but it really does throw some question marks as to what may have happened, because this is not just some made-up fantasy. Well, this is not something we're pulling out of the air here. This is real. This kind of training and this kind of scenario and these kind of actors absolutely exist.
I think I remember a couple episodes ago, Gareth, you and Alex had brought this up originally about the being staged, the bombing, and about it was hard for you to see how anybody could be there, like being staged, like right away.
Right.
Have you since kind of been thinking about this and seeing all this?
Well, it's still. I mean, it still completely baffles me, because I mean, and we do this a lot with these kind of things, because from our perspective, we could never do these things. When I think about this, I can't comprehend it fully, because I could never and would never do anything like that. And because I can't do it, I kind of project my own moral view on the rest of society. How could somebody do that? But because I feel that way doesn't necessarily mean that other people feel that way.
Plus, when you start looking at all the evidence and thinking about this stuff, it does make you wonder, and that's all we're doing.
Sure.
Just questioning.
Exactly.
That's what I thought. Exactly.
No, you're absolutely correct, Joe. All we're doing here is questioning. Whether or not this is correct, we have no idea. But it's a legitimate question, and that's all it is. is a question. Now, I mentioned earlier on before I played the clip that I was going to forward it to Alex, but I resisted because I wanted to play it on the show. But now I really would like to get Alex's take on this clip and ask him if he'd seen this clip or clips very similar to it. What's your take on this, Alex?
Yeah, I've seen that clip, and I've seen a lot of other ones as well, all around the same lines. And I can remember it was about 2 weeks ago we did talk on this, and because I wasn't on the show last week. And I said then that my feeling was that things just didn't seem right. I couldn't understand how the guy was wheeled off in a wheelchair when he only had, like, his leg was blown away. And you were saying that it felt real to you.
Yeah.
And since then, I've just been soaking up lots of information about the whole event. And it is, use the word baffling, because we're given information for both sides of our minds. I've seen news reports of a woman who had her leg blown off in the event. Her foot was amputated. And it seems very genuine, and she seems very genuine. And it seems like she really was there and had a horrific event happen to her. And then at the same time, we're being shown pictures of people who are just behaving in very strange ways, and pictures that don't seem to add up, really. I mean, I'm posting you a picture right now. Do you want to have a look at this one?
Yeah, let's see.
You all could open this. We can put this onto the site.
Yeah.
And it's going to show a woman who... Now, first of all, I know Photoshop exists. How do we know really what's going on?
Sure.
But this woman is there on the ground after the explosion, and she looks like she's had a traumatic experience, but she's not covered in blood and badly hurt. And then we see her in a wheelchair being pushed away, absolutely
covered in blood. Yeah.
There are so many events like this. I mean, from we've got Saudi officials or people high up from Saudi Arabia being deported. President Obama having unscheduled meetings with Saudi officials and things. There's so many things, the craft people who were there. But I'll tell you the one small detail that leapt out at me. And that was one of the terrorist guys, the guys that we were told to look at. We were told not to look at any others, if you remember.
Right.
And they said, they were given a question of what happened to him. And they said, he went round the corner and down a particular road and we lost him. And I'm thinking, excuse me, this guy, you've got cameras everywhere there. You know what he looks like. He's dressed quite distinctively. How could they have lost him in the city? How could he just turned a corner in that street and they would have lost him?
Yeah.
I don't buy it. I don't buy that at all.
So let me get this straight. Now I'm going to get everyone's take on this, and I know that Ben is probably chomping at the bit here to get in here. So I'm going to jump over to Ben in a second. But let me just get this straight, Alex. Do you feel, and I use the word feel because we don't know, but there's a strong emotional element here. Do you feel that the events of the Boston bombing, either all of it or sections of it, were staged?
Yes. And feeling is the word. I would say definitely parts of it were there was pre-information for what was going on. In the very least, there were people there who aren't normally in places like that, and something was going down. And I cannot explain the behaviour of many people there.
Right.
To me, it baffles me. I cannot see it. Going back even to the obvious thing, the guy who sat in the wheelchair with his leg blown off, I can't even begin to picture who would pick someone up like that and put them in a wheelchair and push them around. It's absolutely beyond me. If I was in that situation, someone picked me up and put me in the wheelchair, I don't know if they'd be a saint trying to save me or there'd be someone trying to kill me.
Yeah. All right, let's jump over to Ben. What are your thoughts, Ben?
Well, from what Alex just said, I mean, we went into this last week in detail, but I can say from my own experience, if someone had that kind of injury and you pick them up and put them in a wheelchair, well, firstly, they wouldn't be able to sit up in the wheelchair, and secondly, you'd probably kill them. But now, there's been a couple of good points, because I've actually done drills like this myself. I mean, the clip you played, Gareth, of the drill, which they were doing for the army, and they had these amputee actors. They do the same for they do drills like this also for the emergency services, and ambulance men, police, fire, and other people at the hospitals. And I've done several of these at my hospital, and I've met some of these amputee actors, and they are very good. They are very, and some of them get roles in films and things like that as well. They often stand-ins for people, like one guy who was there had no arms, and he ended up in a movie. He had to wear a mask and pretend to be somebody else, but he was pretending to be somebody who had his arms chopped off.
Right.
In a movie. And and they are very good. I mean, they can act like they really are frightened in pain. They can scream and cry and things like that. And of course, they're well made up. I mean, these drills are very, very well put together. And the ones we did at my hospital, there was a simulation of an explosion and building collapse. And the ambulance service and firemen were at the scene, which was just set up on an old disused place somewhere. And we at the hospital had to receive the injuries. And it was basically, we were tested. It was a drill.
Well, to
desensitize us and to test us for our abilities,
Well, from the clip I just played, I mean, when you watch the clip, the actors in it look very, very real. When you see them screaming and stuff, it looks 100% real. What's your take on it, Reeves?
Well, without a risk of mirroring what everybody else has said, there's so many unanswered questions still. This last week, I was looking at some of the photo anomalies that are coming to light. Even, I think I just sent you guys one of the newspaper reports that was published, a front page picture that they're covering up injuries that were happened out of apparently sensitivity. Well, you don't know what to believe it, and the youngest member who was now in custody allegedly had a backpack photoshopped off of his back when he was leaving the scene to make him look like he was running away from the scene without a backpack. And yet, if you look at some of the other pictures, the two backpacks the individuals are wearing don't even look anything like the backpack that exploded. And yet the backpack that exploded looks just like the backpack that one of those army guys was wearing. Right. So there are so many unanswered. I mean, obviously, like I said last week, possibly, it happened as it was shown it happened, or there's a whole underlying. I don't want to use the word conspiracy, but there's a whole underlying story going on here that we are not privy to, and we are just getting the snippets here and there. And these actors that use their disabilities for I suppose you could call it a positive, to help people deal with traumatic events, to make it as real as possible. When you get to that level of realism, what is real and what is fake? How do you decipher what is real and what isn't real? From our perspective, but from our perspective, from looking in on it. How do we sort of say, well, is that real? Is that really happening? Or is there a group of people that have put this together very cleverly and everyone's being hoodwinked? There's so many unanswered questions, and it's good that people are asking questions and digging and looking, but we've also got to be careful that we don't kind of talk ourselves into a corner and start to believe stuff that we want to believe. We've got to be careful that we're not seeing stuff that we only want to see because that's what we think happened.
Let me just jump back to Ben right here. He had something he wanted to add as far as CCTV.
Yeah, I mean, Reeves is right in that we can't jump the gun here. I mean, I'm not saying that this Boston bombing was faked. All right, I'm not even saying that the people they've got in custody or the guy killed are not the real felons. But there are doctored images here, and Alex made a good point about CCTV because apparently they lost this guy on CCTV. Well, it's odd that they tend to lose people they want to lose on CCTV, and this is something that I've noticed in other areas as well. They can always track you down when they want to track you down. I mean, there's a guy I knew from Manchester he did like a protest in the middle of Manchester, and he got in his car and he drove back home in Stockport, which is like about 20 miles away or so, and the police came and knocked on his door. They followed him using CCTV all the way from central Manchester to Stockport. Now, how come it is they can do that, but there's other instances like the one Alex talked about. They lost this guy on CCTV. Why do the CCTV cameras never work when they're supposed to? I mean, there was a very disturbing incident that happened in Dagenham in London. Now, London, is the most CCTV surveilled city in the world. In fact, there's hardly a square inch that's not covered by CCTV. There was a fight between this woman attacked another woman and basically disfigured her for life in this fight. And then she ran off, and the police said the police didn't pursue the case because they couldn't find the suspect. And I find that hard to believe. I just find it very hard to believe. And we're seeing this again and again and again. They'll track you down on CCTV for things like parking tickets or whatever, or for fines or whatever. But they want you, when serious crimes are committed and they want to lose someone, they'll lose them.
They pick and choose.
Yeah.
Especially a big event like this, especially in a big city like Boston.
Yeah, why is it really, if it was the other way around, they ought to prioritise these other cases. Why is it they don't pursue these ones? Why is it the CCTV doesn't work for the really important cases? It's supposed to be there to protect us. We're told it's there to protect us from violent crime and things like that.
I'd like to add to that. This isn't just a big city. This was the marathon. They had a huge security there. That's what they do now on big events. I mean, in general, that's just what they do. And are you telling me that after an event like that, suddenly they aren't looking, spotting, checking every camera around, taking cameras off everybody, apparently? I mean, wasn't it strange how little... Now, I know people are horrified at what's going on and they're running, screaming, whatever, but how few footage, or how little footage there was from people with mobile phones.
I thought the same thing in other events too.
There was so little coming out. I was looking, thinking, where the heck is where is everybody's footage? Where is it?
And why, could they have just confiscated it all? I mean, could they have just gone in there and just taken everyone's and just tell it from the public? I mean,
literally, the FBI were asking for people to send it to them.
I mean, you'd think that...
Which is a polite way of confiscating.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you'd think that... I know that if I was involved in something like that, I mean, if I was there and this happened and I'd filmed stuff and the police asked me to send a copy of my footage to them, I would do that. But I'd also upload it to YouTube too.
Well, just imagine if the police said to you, please, we need a copy of your footage and we ask you not to publish this, please.
Well, see, if they're asking, if they say I ask you not to do that, then that means I have a choice. So I could say no. But if they say don't,
sorry, Gareth,
do not
they aren't using Orwell here. They aren't stamping down on people. They're getting people to censor themselves, to do it themselves.
Yeah, true.
It's Brave New World. It's so easy, so simple. You don't have to confiscate things off people. You just get the people to agree with you and do it themselves.
Right.
I remember looking for footage on YouTube when it first happened. I couldn't find barely any. I think I found one where the girl had somebody had a phone when they were running to the finish, and they got the explosion from that angle, but that was it.
There were very few for an event with so many people. There were a handful of clips, and they were usually very well produced in the sense they were professionally filmed.
Right.
And it's just amazing to think of all the people that were there.
Oh, you'd think, everyone's there because it's a marathon, right? There's going to be people there with high quality cameras, taking high quality still photographs, taking high quality HD video, right? And then you add to that, then on top of that, there's hundreds of people with their mobile phones, with their cell phones, and they're taking photographs and they're taking video. So the amount of recorded imagery from that event is going to be vast. Why haven't we seen 90% of it? We've only seen a tiny percentage of the footage that was accumulated.
We've been presented with the same images again and again.
Now, I have another clip here, and the reason that I'm bringing this up is because even though, we touch on this every week, it's still very, very fascinating and head-scratching, and this is a major event, and it should be something that we need to get to the bottom of. We really need to dig around and try and figure out what's going on here. Mainstream media is not going to do that for us. All they're going to do is be the mouthpiece of the powers that be. They're not going to get out there and start investigating and find out what's really going on. Now, I found this clip here. This is like a montage of many inconsistencies with the Boston Marathon. And it starts off with something very strange. Now, there's a popular television show over here called Castle. I don't know if you have it in the UK. And it's basically like a kind of comedy, drama, crime show where this guy is an author, a crime author, and he teams up with this chick detective, and they go and solve mysteries and stuff. Well, a month or two ago, they did an episode where there was an explosion in Boston. And the explosion in the episode was in the exact same place where the explosion in real life took place. So I'm going to play this clip right now, and it includes a clip from that episode. And it also goes into some very strange comments made by former President Bush and the police commissioner in Boston, who called the two suspects actors. Have a listen to this.
This is the plaza yesterday at 4:32, right before the explosion. Each red dot represents the GPS position of a specific phone.
How did you get this?
I called in a favor from a friend at Homeland Security.
That is a damn good friend.
Sure. The terrorism in Boston.
Yeah.
Many people have wondered if it took you right back to 9/11 when you heard it.
Well, at first, I was deeply concerned that there might have been a organized plot. I don't know all the facts. I don't think we all know all the facts, but I was deeply concerned that this could have been, another organized, highly organized attack on the country. This could have been, another this could have been,
They're fooling with the clip there, folks. It's not like there's anything wrong with the audio. They're just because he's about to say conspiracy, and he catches himself and stops, basically. Which in itself is interesting, but I'll skip past the look and have a listen to the rest of it.
That is a damn good friend.
That's my assessment based upon the fact that there are a significant number of explosives found at the scene of the arrest.
So how confident can you be that they don't have more explosives still out there, sir?
We cannot be positive, but we're confident that these were the two actors, these were the two individuals that were carrying out this mission, and they are either dead or arrested at this point in time. These were the two actors.
That is a damn good friend.
They were the two actors. Now, this is what kind of blows my mind with this nonsense. Is obviously it's like it's like, what was it, a Freudian slip, or a slip. They say something what they really mean to say and then catch themselves. But considering this scenario and what took place, why would the word actor be even in your mind at all?
Just to jump in a second, I saw that clip and I did a bit of research. Now, allegedly, and I don't have the proof to back this up because I don't know enough about it, but allegedly, from what I've read, that they do call people that are wanted by law enforcement actors. Now, I don't know how that comes about and how relevant that is to what's going on here, but from my minimal research, apparently law enforcement, when they're looking for a perpetrator, they call them actors because they're acting out and they're part of an event.
I don't buy that.
Who knows? I'm not saying whether it's true or not. I'm just saying what I've read. So it could be a load of old tosh.
Yeah, I've never heard that before, Reeves. So maybe it's true. I don't know, but I really doubt that's true. I've never ever heard a law enforcement call them actors. They're perps, perpetrator, suspect, actors. Please, come on, no, never, ever. But this just blows my mind. I'm completely floored by
that. Sounded like a slip up to me when I heard
totally. That. Well, and he's as soon as he says it, he's like, "Fuck," Why would you say that? Why? What's the thought process for you to act this? It's unbelievable.
They always say suspects or criminals.
Yeah. Actors.
In fact, in this case, they said suspects. That's the word I heard was the key word. But, yeah, it's a slip-up.
Unbelievable.
And I wonder, did anybody question it? Or
no, of course not. No one's going to say shit.
Nothing's being questioned on this.
Yeah.
That's what I wonder. Why don't people question this?
After the explosion, we see that there's pictures of everybody there, smoke and chaos, people, injured people. And there's this guy gets up and runs away. He isn't one of the suspected terrorists. And we're not told to look who this is as well. There are other photos of this woman coming out of a shop where this guy is really badly hurt, and she's paying no attention to him at all. and there are so many just really strange things. But the point with all of it for me is, well, I think there's two things. We are told where to look. In fact, we are told clearly where we should look and told clearly where we shouldn't.
Yeah.
But we're also being given two views of this. One that is like the official story, and one these other things. If it was staged in any way, or if there is any other aspect to it, why was it done so badly? Why are these things done so badly?
Well,
why are we given these? It's as if it's done to also to try and confuse us.
Yeah. I've thought that too, Alex, because there's so many inconsistencies with these things. So many things don't make sense. And I've often thought, how often does this happen? When something legitimate does happen, are there that many inconsistencies in something in a regular crime scene?
Well, if we look at the two other biggest things that have happened in the last few years, look at 7/7 and 9/11, they weren't exactly perfect. If you start to dig,
exactly,
there's a lot of inconsistency with those.
Right.
Maybe the people that, if this is, if this is what we, some people are saying an act, then maybe the people that are doing it are getting complacent, getting lazy. They think the people are stupid. They're only going to fight among themselves. We've got, we've got the conspiracy theorists that are going to say it's not real, and then we've got the people that say it's real. Let them fight among themselves. They're never going to get an answer.
It's not broken. It's designed that way.
Yeah.
I think this. If, for example, if it's staged, I mean, maybe we're on purpose. All these things, we're given little clues, but we're told. Come on, I'll put it differently. It's a flag to us. Look at us. We can do this. We know you can see us, but we can still get away with it.
Yeah. Don't look at those other photographs. The other people. Do not look at those. Why would you say that? Why would you say do not look?
They'll have their own kind of. They'll always put their own kind of disinformation in there, which will always, they'll leave some clues which appear to be good leads, which will then lead to blind alleys or other things like that. They do this sort of thing. I mean, this is different from Sandy Hook. I mean, Sandy Hook was a lot more straightforward. There's there's basically no evidence that anything happened there at all.
Whoa. Wait. Did you just say what I thought you said, Ben?
What is it? This doesn't seem to me. Is there any evidence anyone was actually shot?
Yeah.
Really?
It was on TV.
Yeah, it was on TV. You don't watch TV?
No, I don't. I'm strangely, I don't. Maybe if I did, I'd believe more. Sorry, guys.
All right, let's. I don't want. I mean, we really could get into another huge Sandy Hook thing too, but I don't want to go down that path because that's another 6-hour show. I don't want to have. So I'm not going to bring that up. But let's kind of change gears a little bit and move on to something else here. Now, Alex has a clip here about Syria and Israel and the things that are going on over there. Any lead-ins before I hit play here, Alex?
Yeah. I've got a few things to say on this. Obviously, this is headline news today. And there's one thing about what's happened today that I'd like to mention a little bit later. But if I can just take us back a short while, Israel has been shooting some rockets, missiles, if you like, into Lebanon, trying to stop missiles going to Hezbollah and things like that. There's been various things happening for a long time, lots of little altercations. And this clip is actually from last week. and just something leapt out at me when they were saying it, and I've stopped it towards the end, and hopefully you'll hear it too. Maybe it sounds odd to you.
All right, here we go.
Israel has confirmed that it launched an attack on a target inside Syria on Friday. It says weapons bound for Lebanon were hit and destroyed. Israel says it launched the strike to keep the weapons out of the hands of Hezbollah, the Islamist militant group.
Weapons.
Meantime, in Syria, Derek, more grim reports coming out of the country. We're hearing of another massacre involving the deaths of men, women, and children. What do we know about this?
Well, the details, again, sort of filtering slowly out. The Syrian regime isn't really allowing foreign journalists or activists into this region, into much of Syria. So we're getting reports of dozens. In fact, the latest massacre we're hearing is in the city of Bania. 77 people there killed, men, women, and
77?
Is it just me? What are the chances, eh?
Yes, it's the code.
Exactly. 77 people killed last Friday. This week, massive air assault.
Yeah.
Right. To me, that is like that's a code put out. It's been agreed. This is happening now, and that's it. It's a public airing of what's about to take place, and what's about to take place is what happened last night.
It's a secret language that there's certain numbers that are. I mean, if we would, I mean, we should really do this. Actually, this might be go back 5 years, and of all the main events, find out the numbers of deaths that were broadcast, and I think that we'd find an enormous. It would be unbelievable the amount of 77s and 33s would be presented.
You know, I'd like to mention as well that this report, if you're not picking up on these numbers, and that I've cut out at that particular point, you won't pick up on it. It's just a number amidst a long report.
Like when they say, and 77 people are dead, most people think, oh, well, I guess a lot of people have been killed over there.
Well, those are very accurate figures, aren't they, considering that they're just... He says
exactly.
That no foreign journalists are allowed in.
Exactly.
They're only hearing basically rumours. Oh, but we got the death toll of 77, and very precisely.
Exactly.
But, I mean, is 77 significant sort of in an occult sense or in a
I don't know, Ben. I don't know. But there's definitely some kind of secret conversation going on here. This is some kind of code. The amount, it's always like, and 33 people are dead, and 77 people have been injured, or it's always 33 and 77. Constantly in all of these reports, those numbers are used like 99% of the time. What we're seeing here is some kind of, it's a secret conversation that's being had in public.
I saw another
of course, the London
this week.
bombings, aren't they? They're called 777. The
yeah, exactly. Reeves even mentioned a minute ago 77 when we were talking a minute ago. But I saw another number this week, just jumping sideways a little bit. You know the Twin Towers, the new tower that's being built?
Yeah.
How tall is that in feet?
No idea.
1,776 feet. 1776, right? Which is, you might say, Joe can correct me on this, but when independence was set in America,
it was.
But it's also the date of the foundation of the Bavarian Illuminati. You know,
that's right. Interesting.
1776 will be reenacted.
Yeah.
Alex Jones was think twice now, shouldn't he? But it was also May the 1st as well, wasn't it, Alex? Which is very, very significant.
Exactly, yeah.
It's Beltane.
Can I add one last thing on Syria, and then I'll gladly hear other people's takes as well, please. Just what happened last night, I'll put it very simple. If it looks like a nuclear blast, it smells like a nuclear blast, then I suggest it is a nuclear blast. I'm talking tactical nukes.
Right.
Last night.
Now, I
look at the footage.
Now, it's a little early here in L.A. It's 7 a.m. in the morning right now, and I have not turned on the television or listened to any kind of news media whatsoever. So I'm a little in the dark as to what may or may not have happened.
Well, Israel bombed Damascus last night. Large enough to be felt like an earthquake around. In fact, I checked earthquake reports, and there was an earthquake reported. The blasts that happened were huge. And it's at night, so you can't really see what's going on too well. And I've even been off checking today to look at different nuclear tests that have been done to compare these things, because I've heard people commenting in different ways. And to me, it looks like a tactical nuclear strike. And I could be wrong. What am I? I'm just some guy sat here looking at the internet. This is serious, I think.
Oh, it's funny you should say that, Alex, because there's people who've analysed the footage of Fukushima, and they've said the same thing. This is very, very interesting. So maybe you're right there. I mean, if it looks similar, maybe you're right.
You know, I think I can picture this being... we've got this picture of what a nuclear strike is in our head, set from the Cold War, and weapons have moved on an awful lot since then. And if you had some form of bunker busting bomb with a nuke, just watch this. Watch the videos that are out there that are coming out, and you've got a giant mushroom cloud, basically. Now maybe that can be done with regular explosives, but I know what it looks like.
If it was a low yield nuclear tactical weapon that they sent in there, why wouldn't they report that?
Because that's a weapon of mass destruction.
Well, first of all, Israel allegedly has no nukes, which they clearly do.
They've publicly said they have nukes. That's not a secret.
I'll tell you.
Well,
I'll tell you something. I mean,
they have them.
They and what's more, you're right. I mean, they could not use these weapons without some kind of sort of like international sort of scandal, some kind of international incident. But I'll tell you what, there's a guy called Dr. David Halpin who's been treating the victims of in Gaza, of the Israeli attacks on Gaza and the West Bank. He's also had to look after a boy called Ali. He was treated at my hospital. Actually, it was in the news. But he was an Iraqi boy who was attacked, who lost his arms to a British bomb, and Dr. David Halpin has actually shown photos of what he looked like before he had the amputation, because the arms were burnt really badly. Both his arms were burnt really badly, and they had to be amputated. But Halpin says the injuries that the arm sustained, the heat damage that the flesh and the bone sustained to the arm, he said that has to be some kind of nuclear weapon was used in Iraq to cause that kind of injury.
Yeah, and they keep
it
on the down
Dr.
low.
David Halpin.
To be honest, I just want to jump in here. We're talking about different weapons being used. Did Israel drop this on it or whatever? And if it got into the mainstream news, why wouldn't they tell? But what does it matter? Because it doesn't matter what Israel does; they'll never be in the wrong, not in the West side.
Yeah, that's probably true.
They're pretty much free to do what they want.
Right.
Well, there's been a lot. I've noticed here there's been a lot of talk about the chemical weapons that they're supposedly using, and so that's been getting people involved too. Like they say America should get involved because that's being done.
Well, that's the thing, guys. I mean, certain countries and/or people can do whatever the fuck they want with no recriminations, no backlash, no nothing. If like Iran was to shoot some missiles over to another country and blow some shit up, it'd be, dudes, the American government would be losing its fucking mind right now. If Kim Jong, whatever the fuck, in North Korea, if he started shooting missiles and blowing shit up, dude, it'd be World War III. We'd be going like mental cases, pushing buttons and shooting fucking missiles, right?
The way the media...
Israel does it, and it's like, oh, that's okay. No problem. Yeah, go ahead. You can shoot some more. It's okay. No worries.
That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. We're all anti-Semites now, apparently. Did you know
that? The way the media presents it is, I'm not an anti-Semite. The way the media presents it is pre-crime, protection. What about the words war crime?
Yeah.
Right? What about the words war crime? I am not an anti-Semite. I am anti bloody bastards blowing things up.
Yeah,
I know. I was
and pretending that it's about pre-crime. These explosions were huge, absolutely huge. And there's reports today already that this is also at the city's airport. This isn't about taking out a few missiles being delivered to Hezbollah. This is potentially a start of war. I mean, if you had a strike like this in America, you would be at war straight away. You would be invading them.
Right. Yeah.
It all comes down to this, okay? Israel want to be the dominant power over there. They don't want anyone else getting a nuclear capability. It doesn't matter who it is. Their biggest threat at the moment is Iran. If Iran get the bomb, then Israel have got somebody that can quite clearly give them at least a good kicking, and they don't want that. They want to still remain the dominant country.
The thing
in
is,
that area.
Reeves, is that the reason the way it's presented in the West, you think of like Iran, they're getting the bomb, and we look at them like, oh, what are you doing? You crazy? What do you want the bomb for? It's nuts. It's going to be escalate everything in that area. There's going to be more chance of war. There's going to be problems. What do you need the bomb for? That's nuts. But they don't look at it the other side. The reason that they're getting the bomb is because they can't be bullied anymore. Once they get the bomb, all these people, all these countries that are pushing them around and telling them you can't do this and you can't do that, they can say, you know what? Fuck you. We'll do what we want. The second they get a bomb, all bets are off, right? You can't be bullied. It's like the little skinny kid at school who gets pushed around and gets his lunch money taken off him. The minute that kid punches the bully in the face and says, let's go, suddenly no one's bullying him anymore. And it's the same shit with these countries.
But do you think it's just Israel that's really doing all this? I mean, don't you think it's back and forth between?
I think a lot of it. I think a lot of the people that are pulling the strings and in my personal opinion, it comes down to religion. It comes down to the people that really do make the rules are the people that are at the top of the ladder, and those are the people, the religious leaders. They're the people that influence their governments, and they influence them by religious belief and what the Bible, whatever book they read from is telling them they should be doing. And I think that it just comes down to all this bullshit that's going on with these wars. When has the world ever been in harmony? Never, and we got this fucking war going on. We got another war starting, and it's just complete madness. All right, and it's just been going on for what, fucking over 2,000 years now. Just for what?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
it's bullshit. That's what it is.
All right, Ben, you wanted to add something?
I just wanted to say that when I said before we're all anti-Semites now, I was actually being ironic. I know Alex is not an anti-Semite. I know none of us are. But we've discussed this on a previous show about how Israel is using this as propaganda. They're saying that if you criticize Israel, it means you hate Jews. And we have just said, haven't we, so many times. We said in a previous show, what complete nonsense that whole idea is.
Yeah,
Israel is a nation. It's a country, or it's a fiefdom, an artificial, aberrant fiefdom that's just been set up. It has no fixed borders.
Right.
It's been armed and funded at an enormous expense. It's causing havoc in that entire region, and it's ostensibly a Jewish state. But when you look at it, it has very, very little to do with Judaism and Jewish people who are a culture that lives across the world, and which is all kinds of, which is. There's lots of Jews who are against Israel and understand that country is not their homeland. It doesn't represent them, and and I stand by those Jews. I think nothing bad about Jews at all, but I think Israel is a terrible thing.
Well, see, that's the thing. This is something I've often thought about. Is like Israel is apparently a democracy and it's freedom and all this stuff, but everyone who lives there is a Jew. I'm like, what's up with that? It's like I wonder how many people live in Israel who are like atheists, or I wonder how many people who live in Israel are like Christians or fucking Scientologists or Muslims.
Well, I can tell you, Gareth, there's quite a few atheists in Israel.
Really?
Yeah, I've been there and I've met them.
Oh, I didn't know that. Tell us more about that, Alex.
Lots of people from other countries will go to Israel. People from the Soviet Union, for example.
Really?
Yeah. Not everybody is Jewish there.
I'm blissfully unaware of all this. I have no clue. But the perspective that's always presented is that Israel is for the Jews, and it's packed to the fucking hilts with Jewish people.
The vast majority. But I mean, for example, you might call your country a Christian country. but not everybody in there is a Christian.
No. In fact, Christianity is huge. I think in Middle America, I think it's like 99% of the people in there are mental for Jesus. But if you go to the coasts, it kind of dwindles a little bit. Joe, would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more, we have the Bible Belt.
Yeah. If you look at like the
Midwest,
center of our Midwest, all that, they're all whacked out of their skull for Jesus. But as you get to the coast, east or west, it kind of like peters off a little bit.
Yeah, it's definitely. I see what Alex is saying, though. It definitely is religious here, you know.
Yeah.
But you can be an atheist here, though.
Well, if you keep it on the down low, you can.
That's true. Yeah, if you
keep it on the down
upon, that's true. You are looked down upon.
Oh, totally.
Let me be cynical about what's going on in Israel and Syria now. That we've had these skirmishes, I would say, with Hezbollah and Lebanon, and we've had the building up of the Israeli missile defense system, what's Iron Dome, something like that. And when these other skirmishes have happened, this dome system has been built up and pushed closer to the borders to protect Israel from basically a few little small rockets that Hezbollah have been shooting off that didn't really reach significant areas. Maybe that's all been part of the plan, to build up a defense system right up to the borders that could be justified for something like this when they attack Syria. Maybe it's part of a long plan that's just been put into place piece by piece, and we're shown all the small skirmishes, but really there's been a clear plan just building up to it. Yeah. And I think whatever happens after last night, maybe it will settle down. I don't know. I don't know exactly what Syria could do anyway, but maybe it's just been building up to this point.
Well, we'll keep our eyes peeled, and we'll keep watching to see what happens. But we'll also keep our eyes peeled for certain numbers and or codes that appear in plain sight in the news very regularly. That stuff is, to me, is the key to what's going on here. It's truly fascinating, and it's in your face. But who notices this stuff? Very, very few people pay attention to 77 people killed. You know how many that number 77 has been used in deaths? That accurate number, 77 people killed.
Yeah.
It's staggering. It's beyond the pale of an accidental, random number. There's no way.
I just take my take on it is that these strikes were agreed, that they were agreed in principle between different countries. And then it's put into the main
news, right,
consciousness with this type of code word saying that's it. Now we're going ahead.
Yeah, you very well might be correct there, Alex. All right, guys, let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Smoke 'em if you got 'em.
You can now hear all of the Mindset Central podcast while on the go with the Stitcher Smart Radio app. On-demand news, talk, and more on your mobile phone. The latest episodes at Mindset Central are always available for you. No syncing needed and no memory or storage wasted. Available on your iPhone, iPad, Android phones, and beyond. Downloading is easy. Go to Stitcher.com or check out your app store. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to MindsetCentral.com.
You're listening to the Mindset Network.
Paratalk, an intimate discussion on all things strange. This is a show where more questions are raised than answers are given, and things sometimes really do go bump in the night. Hosted by Reeves Cook and Garrett Davis. You can listen to Paratalk at MindsetCentral.com.
back. That was the Anchor Thieves there with Venus de Milo. You might have heard that this past weekend on the Mindset Radio Hour with Joe Dunn, episode 35. Am I right, Joe?
Yeah, we featured them on 35. Actually, a few of their songs from Anchor Thieves on that episode, so make sure to check it out.
Yeah, great
you
track.
You can go to anchorthieves.com if you want to hear more of that band, and they are working on a new album, from what I know, too.
There you go.
So,
all right, hope you guys enjoyed that. All right, let's get back to the madness that engulfs the planet that is continually ongoing. Now, the next story I have here kind of, sort of ties into Boston. In other words, it's a clip from the Boston bombing, but it's something that kind of spills into a much larger area in regard to digital communication. So I'd like to play this and then get everyone's take on it.
Okay, let's turn our attention now to the phone call between Catherine Russell and her husband, Tamerlan Tsarnaev. You said something very interesting on Aaron Burnett's show last night. You said that if Catherine Russell does not divulge the contents of this phone call, that the FBI had other methods finding out what was said. What did you mean by that?
Well, on the national security side of the house, in the federal government, we have assets. There's lots of assets at our disposal throughout the intelligence community, and also not just domestically but overseas. Those assets allow us to gain information and intelligence on things that we can't use ordinarily in a criminal investigation, but are used for major terrorism investigations or counterintelligence investigations.
And you're not talking about a voicemail, right? What are you talking about exactly?
I'm talking about all digital communications there's a way to look at digital communications in the past. And I can't go into detail of how that's done or what's done, but I can tell you that no digital communication is secure. And so these communications will be found out. The conversation will be known. And it's just a question of whether or not Catherine Russell decides to own up to what was said prior to that information being known or after the fact. And it'll be unfortunate for her if she doesn't own up to it completely and fully, because the facts of this case, the facts of her involvement and communication with her husband will be known.
Now, this is something that we've all kind of suspected and or known of behind the scenes, but this is kind of a confirmation of our suspicions that was unintentionally, I believe, spilled, in that all digital communication is not secure. And the ramifications of that statement, he says it kind of off the cuff there when the reporter kind of pushes him on it. And he is very clear to mention that all digital communications in the past are not secure. Now, I think what he means by that is that, the kind of harvesting of all data on the internet is harvested and recorded, and it's kind of trivial to go back and dig through it and find out what you need to find out. But this really does bring a lot of thoughts and or ideas as far as encryption and what may or may not be safe. So having listened to that clip, and if you have any thoughts on this, I'd really like to hear them. So let me just start off with Alex here. What are your thoughts on this, Alex?
Oh, I have a great thought on this. Oh, I think so. A little bit to the side, but I've got a creaky chair. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Just thought I'd give you that. Washington, D.C., good old District of Columbia, which, of course, is its own state, just as
a bit like the City of London,
and the City of London are, exactly. Do you know what they're building there?
Where, in Washington or London?
Yeah, in good old Washington, in D.C., the District of Columbia.
What are they building?
Well, in 2009, obviously, because they're building lots, aren't they? Obviously, okay. But in 2009, they decided to build something for Homeland Security.
Are you talking about the NSA data storage facility?
I'm talking about the new Department of Homeland Security building.
Okay, tell us more.
Do you know about this?
No, tell us more.
Well, they're building a new office there, rather nice office, because obviously as America and so many countries have got trouble at the moment with money. Money's tight, isn't it? Everyone's struggling, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah, everyone's struggling except the Department of Homeland Security, who are building a $34 billion office there. $34 billion.
$1 billion.
Right. Now, if you're in the business of security, of surveillance, things aren't tight for you there.
Oh no, that's booming.
Booming business.
Yeah.
Booming.
So
yeah.
if you're talking about emails and everything that's being surveyed, whatever the word is, just think about it. This complex is unbelievable. It's not an office. It's going to be your everything. I personally think if you encrypt it, I'm not okay. You can tell me more details about encryption, I suspect, than I know, but they are going to be checking if they want, or they're going to be filtering, storing. 34 billion.
Yeah. No, there's in the Midwest somewhere, the NSA is building this vast data center, which exists purely for one purpose and one person only, and that's to archive data because they harvest everything. Everything that you do on the internet is harvested and stored. And legally, they're not supposed to monitor live without like a court order, but they're doing it anyway. And they're rapidly trying to change that in law so that they can legally monitor in real time without a warrant. But what they do to bypass all that is that everything is harvested and everything is stored, so that they can go back and pull up a highly detailed picture of who you are, what you do, what you're into, very, very quickly. Because, that's part of 21st century life, is that we live a large chunk of our lives digitally. On the internet, on our mobile phones. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, posting pictures, telling everyone we're here, we're doing this, blah, blah, blah. We're making internet phone calls via Skype. We're on instant messaging. We're, excuse me, we're downloading movies. We're telling we like this, we don't like that. We're all of our stuff is being pumped into this digital domain, which is then being harvested, and allowing these agencies to build highly detailed and highly accurate profiles on who we are. And you tie into that things like not voice recognition software, but software that can analyze what you say. Software that has facial recognition software that is very crazy accurate. I mean, ridiculously accurate. So that when you're out and about, any CCTV camera that records you, they can track you to a high degree of accuracy. So you put all this together, and you put it all in, and we're basically talking about Big Brother not coming, but existing today. But here's the genius, though. This is the genius part here. Is that most people, 90+% of people alive on Earth today, are completely oblivious to this fact.
That drives me crazy, Gareth.
They have no clue. And not only do they not know about it, but they don't care.
Yeah, they don't care. And then they complain about other things, like they say, I don't want government in my life, or
Too late.
This and that. But
Too late.
Well, you don't. Then what about your data? You don't care about that.
Yeah.
It's just
too late.
Too late.
It's done. There already is. They're already up your ass.
And how is it? And how is it that this goes on? How is it sold? Maybe everybody, it's a benefit. It's to help marketing companies get our information, sell us things, convenience.
Well, when you download an application for your phone or your computer, or whatever, you don't want to pay for that. Fuck no, I don't want to pay for it. I want it free. Well, anything that you download on your computer that's free, there is a price associated with it. And the price associated with it is you. You are the monetary value for that application. So anything you download and says, free, download for free, and you click, oh, that's awesome, click, you just sold a piece of yourself to that company.
Yep. And they do all kinds of stuff with your data.
Oh, yeah, dude.
There's actually program going around at the moment. One of our most popular browsers, Firefox. There's a fake version of Firefox going around, and it works just like normal Firefox as an internet browser. But what you don't know is it's got built-in spyware and keylogging software, and it basically tracks everything you look at, everything you type on your keyboard, and it sends it back to a corporate company's data center, where they basically they can monitor what everyone's doing.
Right, but Reeves, whether you
using that browser,
whether you have that version of Firefox or not, that shit is happening.
Oh yeah, unless you use a VPN service and totally go turn into a ghost.
Right,
and all they know then is you're logging into a VPN service. From that point on,
that's where things get a little freaky, right? Because for most people, if you think, well, I encrypt my data, I encrypt my email, and when I access the internet remotely, I log into a VPN service, which gives me a secure encrypted internet connection, right?
Yeah.
But if they want to find out what you're up to,
well, the trick is with a VPN service is to subscribe to a VPN service that doesn't carry logs, so there are no log files. They're deleted.
Dude,
every so many hours. All their log files are deleted.
They
don't actually store anything.
If you popped up on their radar and you were doing all this shit, it wouldn't make a better difference, dude.
It would make their job a lot harder.
No,
a lot harder.
No, dude, no. Because here's what I think, right? Remember back in the 90s when the crypto wars began? In the early to mid 90s, there was the whole cryptographic war that took place between, the bastions of freedom and the government. The Phil Zimmerman created PGP, very powerful encryption software, and it was illegal. The U.S. government made it illegal.
It was deemed illegal. It wasn't illegal, but it was deemed illegal.
And no, you could get prosecuted for exporting it to other countries. And
exactly.
there was massive
illegal by governments that didn't want people using it.
Right, but there was huge court cases, and we apparently won that. In other words, it's not illegal anymore. You can use highly, very powerful encrypting software. And this has always stuck with me, and I've always scratched my head and thought, well, why would this suddenly become legal? Well, it became legal because it's trivial for them to break the encryption. Why otherwise? Why would you even make it legal?
Once you have the code, you can break any encryption as long as you have its base code, and you know how the encryption works. Then you can basically, you've got the resources and the manpower. You can, it's easy. But the point I'm making is that if more people, like you just mentioned, if more people were versed and knowledgeable about how the internet works and how data is moved around and how packets are stored and understood a little bit more. It's like getting in a car and driving it, and then it stops and getting out going, well, it's got fuel in it, so I don't really know what's wrong with it. You're not educating yourself about what's really going on.
It's funny you should say that, Reeves. Because just recently I was going to write an article or something about it, but I keep getting spam, and I know that spam is related to the kind of things I've been looking at online.
Right.
I mean, I got a spam from Amazon about a book about zombies, and this was after I'd put up my videos about zombies. Now, how the hell did they know?
There's two ways they can know. Okay, most people think that there's you've got standard cookies and you've got flash cookies. If there's free software out there that every time you go on the internet, it deletes all that shit. So you don't get any. It's like when you go to Facebook and you think, well, that's weird. All these adverts are popping up that's relevant to me. Well, that's because it's reading the cookies within your browser from other stuff that you've looked at, and it's tailor-making marketing adverts towards you. If you delete all that shit and don't carry it with you, you won't get. And you use a pop-up blocker and an ad blocker and a script blocker, you won't get none of that.
Right, but what you run into two things though, Ben. There's convenience and there's security. You cannot have both. You need to pick one. You want the internet to be convenient and easy to use, or do you want to be secure?
Well, spam is annoying, but it's not dangerous.
You cannot have both.
Mm. Getting spam is annoying. It makes me think, well, obviously, I am on a database of some kind for marketing, you know. But that's not dangerous. It's just annoying. And it's just,
right. So you can't. I mean, you want convenience or security. You know, you pick one.
Like a balance between them, really.
It is a pain in the arse to have to learn how, you know, what to look for and what software to download and what's reliable and what isn't. And you obviously continually have to keep updating it because it doesn't, you know, there are ways around and the software becomes obsolete and you have to find something new. But the problem is that like Gareth said, a vast majority of people don't care. They don't like, I'm just going to do my thing on the Facebook and put my breakfast on there, yeah. And they don't give a shit. They don't care. They just want to switch the computer on and go wherever. And they don't give a shit.
You just got to keep in mind, Ben, that every single thing you do on the internet, everything is recorded.
Yeah. Can I go off on a bit of a tangent based on something Alex said?
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. What it was, what happened was he talked about Homeland Security, the Department of Homeland Security, and they're having a new building put up. Now, there's some architects' drawings online, and it looks almost like a castle. It's like some kind of medieval castle. And the weird thing about it is there's a connection with Boston here. Oh, actually, I think it may be FEMA, but someone who was involved in the mayor's office at Boston is now the head of FEMA or Department of Homeland Security. I can't remember who it was, but the effect is much the same.
Okay.
So that was it.
All right. Let's see. Are we basically done with the digital communications deal? Because we got something else here that Joe brought to the table that is kind of disturbing, as most of these stories are. Let me go ahead and play this clip here. We all know that Joe loves drones, but this takes the whole drone thing to a whole other level. Have a listen to this.
Researchers at Harvard School of Engineering have constructed what they believe is the smallest flying robot ever. It's called RoboBee. Yeah, it doesn't exactly look like a bee, but it is similar in size, and those tiny wings are moving pretty fast, 120 flaps a second. It took engineers more than 10 years to construct RoboBee. With the techno insect just barely the size of a penny, engineers had to build every wing, nut, bolt, and microchip from scratch. As of now, it still has to stay attached to a power source in order to fly around, but researchers are working on developing a self-contained brain and battery pack. Aren't there enough real bugs buzzing around? Why construct a robotic one? There's still a lot of work to do on RoboBee, but it can already take off, hover, and change direction. Potential future uses include search and rescue, surveillance, and environmental monitoring applications, even taking the place of real bees to pollinate crops. That would require lots of RoboBees, way more than there are right now. In the past 6 months, engineers have built 20. For Newsy, I'm Jazz.
This is scary.
Wow. A lot of convenient services there to be used for.
Well, they threw in the search and rescue, but then she said it can be used for search and rescue, surveillance, and...
Oh, and she mentioned pollinate. It could be used like a real bee to pollinate crops. Well, what's going on? The bee population is declining big time.
Exactly. This whole thing of drones and these micro drones, this is going to transform our world. 20 years from now... I keep trying to think about this, but the world is so rapidly changing as far as technology. 20 years from now, is it going to be unrecognizable? Are we going to look around and think, oh, is this the same planet that I was born on?
Or will it end up destroying us?
Yeah.
We know it puts a whole new spin on the phrase "fly on the wall."
Yes, yeah, it does.
It really does. Because
That's true.
I mean, how on earth can you protect yourself from something like that? That's the question. Something that small and that unobtrusive.
Right.
If it looks too much like a real insect. I mean, what do you do? Get a swatter? I mean,
you build yourself an EMP pistol.
Yeah, and of course these things could carry something like ricin. They could carry some kind of lethal injection, and you could get a mosquito, what you think is a mosquito bite, and it'll kill you.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a perfect assassination weapon.
Totally. It's with drones and these micro drones and the surveillance state is going to. I mean, right now, these governments and businesses are so far up our asses. They know pretty much everything we do on a daily basis. Plus you throw in there, predictive technology where they can analyze everything you've done in the past and then very, very accurately predict how you're going to behave in the future. You throw that in there also. And now we have these drones that are going to be right now. I've never seen a drone flying around in the sky. Never. But I know that's going to change. I know there's going to be a time in my life in the future where seeing drones flying through the skies of the city is not going to be an unusual sight. It's going to become commonplace.
I think that that what you just said there, I struck a nerve. If you think about it, most people don't look up. They in their day-to-day lives, they never look up in the sky. They just go about their business, go to work, or they do their chores or whatever they need to do, and they don't never really look up. And we're talking about drones, and 50 years time, we've got a little bee now, but 50 years time, they could be the size of, God knows, smaller than a small fingernail, But the thing is that what makes me think is that these drones, they're most probably there already, flying around, but we don't see them because we don't look for them.
Yeah.
They're already there, I expect, flying around and doing what they're doing or whatever they're being assigned to. But we don't see them because, for one, they're up in the sky, and most people never look up in the sky unless it's starting to rain. Look up, look down.
Sure.
That's it.
Yeah, I think you're correct, Reeves. That there probably is something flying around already, but I think that it's going to get to the point where it's not going to be hidden or camouflaged. It's going to be in your face. Yeah. It's going to be in plain sight.
And I think it's changing, or it's changed when you know that there's other people actually making things to defend against the drones. I just did Mindset Daily this week about the drone shield.
Yeah.
And this is like a pager-sized device that can basically pick up the radio signals of drones. You can wear it or attach it to your fence, and you can get email alerts or text messages.
Right.
And it's real primitive right now, but just to see this stuff being developed, to me, paints the future for me.
Let me get everyone's take on this. I want to get everyone's take on this drone situation, and in order to get everyone's take, the first question I want to ask everyone is: have you ever seen a drone flying around? Let me start with Ben. Have you ever seen a drone, Ben?
I have not, or at least I have seen aircraft, which I assume are manned aircraft, but I wouldn't necessarily know, actually, if they were drones. I mean, I'm not a sort of like aviation buff.
Right.
I know for a fact that there are tests going on in Great Britain, especially in Wales at the moment. They're testing drones, and in above certain parts of Wales, they're a common sight. The UK Border Agency is researching in using them to protect us from immigration. So everybody's going to support it. Let's have those drones, please. Problem, reaction, solution. But I see aircraft flying over my head all the time, and they look like normal aircraft. I've not seen anything unusual.
Alex, how about you? You ever seen a drone?
Yeah, I think I have. Yeah, definitely where I live, we have airships that go over us, or in particular a airship, and I know that may not be a drone, but that is definitely something that stays around for ages. just you hear it in the air going.
Yeah.
And we because I'm near the Thames in London, we also occasionally have warships that come down the Thames or into the Thames. And I did see I look up as well. I'm always looking up at the sky, and I think I have seen flying overhead a drone. It was definitely a type of plane that I didn't recognise. And it was either like, an odd plane off in the distance or a smaller drone closer. See, but I tell you, Gareth, I for one welcome our robot overlords because they're coming all right.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
They're going to be here en masse.
Yeah, I would also agree. I think you're correct. Yeah, I keep thinking of, when I think of them in plain sight, I keep thinking of things like, remember in They Live, the kind of drone that would fly around and observe everyone and just I think that's the kind of future that we're heading to, where you're going to have these things like nonchalantly just hovering down a street, policing the avenues and the roads, just flying around routinely, and people are not even going to think twice about it.
Do you know, if you say cars, how do you go somewhere? How do you travel somewhere? And you look at the car, okay, and then you think, oh, hang on, I could get a bus. Oh, hang on a minute, I could get on a motorbike. I could get on a scooter. I could get on a train.
I could walk.
Well, the point I'm getting is, if you go back a period of time before we had those transport methods, okay, and just think how many cars there are. We're talking, I can't even count, just so many, okay, and such a range of vehicles, transport, and just project the same onto drones.
Yeah,
they'll be produced even quicker, en masse, and there'll be a huge range of them doing all types of tasks.
The human race in the future is going to be policed to such an extent that not a moment of your life will go by that is not documented someplace.
Yeah, we are set to be monitored unlike ever before.
Yeah, like off the fucking charts, off the scale.
And I think it's not just
for our own safety, of course.
I think it's not just external either. I think it's internal. We'll see implants where it's recording your daily life.
Right.
I mean, we're already seeing that now with the Google Glass.
Google Glass coming out. You got all this. We're going to enter a future in probably 30 to 40 years where every aspect of our lives is going to be documented in minute detail. Everywhere we go, everything we do, every moment is going to be recorded in some way or some fashion, and people that kind of that'll kind of buck these kind of lifestyle and go all retro will be looked at as mental cases and be a kind of social outcasts. Not that there'll be that many of them, but they will exist.
The underground.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I mean, you keep thinking that the future is going to be bright, and in some ways it is. I mean, technology is a wonderful thing. It can be used to
as long as you conform, it's great.
Yes, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of positive stuff that technology can do, but everyone always looks to the light. They always look to how awesome it will be, and they kind of ignore the darkness. but the light and the dark go hand in hand. You know. Mm-hmm. All right, let's go to our final clip of the day here, and this is something that I know that many of you are going to want to talk about, and it does tie into what we just talked about. In other words, things that fly around in the sky. Now, this past week, there's been a citizens' hearing on UFO disclosure, which basically, if you were to watch the mainstream news, this is the way they reported it. There was nothing in the mainstream news in regard to this. In fact, if you did not have an internet connection, you would have no concept or idea that this event even took place. But here's the clip.
Has the government been honest with the public about UFOs? A panel of 6 former members of Congress is getting an earful in Washington this week about UFO incidents and government secrecy.
The citizens' disclosure hearing isn't an actual congressional proceeding. It just looks like one, but its backers hope it generates enough attention to force U.S. officials to disclose whatever they might know about UFO mysteries.
George Knapp of the I-Team says there's at least one big surprise coming this week.
Yeah, it's a good one, too. People tend to forget that back in the 1960s, there were 2 congressional hearings into the UFO question. Future President Gerald Ford was a driving force behind the hearings. All this week, a panel of former members of Congress is hearing from military and intelligence officials, as well as historians and scientists, about all aspects of the UFO enigma. The organizers hope the citizens' hearing on disclosure adds an element of legitimacy to the UFO discussion and perhaps leads to the lifting of what they call the veil of secrecy.
because there is no doubt we are being visited.
Scientist and explorer Dr. Edgar Mitchell, born coincidentally in the UFO hotspot of Roswell, New Mexico, started calling for the disclosure of government UFO files back in the mid-90s. One of his first interviews on the subject was with the I-Team. As the sixth man to walk on the moon, he's an American icon with extensive contacts in the government who've convinced him a UFO cover-up is real. Mitchell says it's time for full disclosure.
And I call upon our government to open up like other governments have, and you will hear about that this morning, like the Belgians have, the French have, the Brazilians have, the Argentines, the Mexicans have all released their files. It's about time now that we do the same thing.
Mitchell will be one of several heavyweight witnesses who will testify at this week's 5-day UFO disclosure event in Washington. A panel of 6 former members of Congress will hear from and question 40 witnesses, including Paul Hellyer, who was the Minister of Defense for Canada and who's had his own UFO sighting. Hellyer says there's no question the U.S. has withheld information about UFOs from the public and from its allies.
To make a plea for full disclosure, because the implications of what has been going on secretly in the last 50 or 60 years are really profound, and most people haven't any idea how important the revelations could be to their future as a species.
One focus of the citizens' hearing will be recent admissions by other governments that there have been secret but ongoing UFO studies by military and intel agencies all over the world. Nick Pope was, for years, the UFO point man for Britain's Ministry of Defense and will testify about the release of his country's once secret files. Canadian nuclear physicist Stanton Friedman will tell the panel about military studies of UFO incidents and attempts to suppress the information, including the infamous Roswell UFO crash case.
The U.S. government has denied the truth to the American people about the ET presence. That's a big deal. It's no longer justified. And so the purpose of this hearing is nothing less than disclosure.
We're going to conduct a citizen hearing on disclosure.
Stephen Bassett, the only UFO lobbyist on Capitol Hill, organized this hearing, hired for the panel former members of Congress who had not taken public positions on the UFO topic, and chose the National Press Club to house the event so that official Washington would take notice. Congress held 2 hearings on UFOs back in the 60s, but the subject has seemed politically toxic since then. Bassett thinks that's not an accident.
The real problem is this, I've said many times. The military intelligence complex has yanked the issue out from under the political leaders. They don't brief them anymore. They don't give them the information, and that's true across the board of many issues.
Tuesday's session focused on one of the most disturbing angles, the intrusion of UFOs over nuclear bases. Former military men stationed at Bentwaters nuke base in England and at missile bases near the Canadian border described chilling incidents in which unknown craft interfered with the launch codes of atomic weapons. Documents squeezed out of the Pentagon show the military long ago considered UFOs to be serious business, but later denied having any interest in the subject.
I've got probably a few more months to make it before my kidneys shut down.
Still to come, surprise testimony from a mystery witness, the deathbed confession of an intelligence officer who worked at secret facilities in Nevada. Only a handful of people even know who he is, but the story he will tell is startling. Ed Mitchell, for one, urges an end to secrecy.
There seems to have been, over the last 50 years at least, and more, a great deal of secrecy surrounding the so-called UFO event. It's a very complex subject. We're not dealing with something very simple here.
Sounds like a lot of supernatural baloney to me.
Supernatural, perhaps. Baloney, perhaps not.
So what do you guys think of this? I mean, this massive conference, this is the last one they had was, I think, in 2001 with Stephen Greer's Disclosure Project. Now they're doing it again, and this stuff is totally fascinating, and the stories they tell are, reek of truth, and it's amazing to hear these high-level government officials stand there in front of microphones and say, I encountered this, or I saw this, or I witnessed this, and all this stuff. But ultimately, is this going to make any difference at all?
No, not at all.
Go for it, Reeves. Let me hear what you got to say.
Not at all. Disclosure, no. It'll never happen. No government is going to tell you that we're being visited, or we live on a planet which used to be inhabited or still is inhabited by maybe, to an alien race, or we are being visited, or, you've got the whole... There's too many people that within the UFO community that everyone is fighting. There is no cohesion. There is no regimented step forward. You get these kind of things come up. We've got disclosure, and I think it was 2001 we had the original disclosure,
right,
where they were all going to present stuff to Congress, and then it all just fluffed out and went quiet. And this now, it's been kind of regenerated. We've got some new people that have, that are putting stuff forward. And there is something weird going on this planet. There is stuff that we cannot explain what is going on. But are the governments of the world that maybe know something going to come forward and tell us? No way. Not going to happen. The only way that it's going to happen is if Mr. Alien and his spaceship lands outside of some government department and says, "I'm here. Hello, Earthlings."
Well,
and that, I don't think
what's
anyone that's looking at this planet from a distance will just see war, destruction, and just see us as a bunch of mentals.
Larry King always used to say, "Oh, why doesn't it? Why don't they just land on the White House lawn?" that was always his
I don't
line.
think we're ready.
No, it's not going to happen. Let me get Ben's take on this. What's your take on disclosure and all this stuff, Ben?
Oh my God! You may not want to bring me in because I don't think this program's going to be long enough. Where do I start? I've been glued to this. I've been watching the webcast whenever I can, and I managed to actually get hold of the recordings. I managed to download them just before the feed went blank. But firstly, there's been a lot of very, very negative coverage in the media. We've had Rachel Maddow, who I'd never heard of before. She's an American TV sort of personality. Maybe sort of the equivalent of Anne Robinson or something, I don't know. But I just wanted to throw a bucket of something over her. She's been sort of like demeaning it. The Guardian in Britain has written an absolutely hateful article talking about how, well, if you believe in little green men, this is and if you're using all kinds of demeaning statements like that. They went on and on. They made a big deal out of one of the committee members being in the Tea Party, like portraying him as some kind of right-wing nut. As it turns out, they're talking about Senator Mike Gravel, who was actually the best one on there. He was the best committee member. Now, also the word that's often used is mock. It's a mock hearing, right?
Yeah.
But the thing about it is, I don't know this firsthand about American politics, but you do have a constitution which says that people can. There are certain circumstances in which the people can actually change their government or play the role of government if they do it properly.
Okay.
Now, in this case, this is perfectly within the Constitution to hold a citizens' hearing on any subject you like. And it was done properly, and they made a big deal out of the fact that these congressmen and women were paid. They were paid $20,000 each to attend this hearing. And the Guardian actually put this in the subtitle of the stupid bloody article they wrote, as if these people are going to do it for nothing. How much do they get paid when they were in Congress? Well, of course they're going to want a fee. It's only natural.
That's one of the main things that they use against this stuff, though, right? Is like, oh, they're just doing it for the money. How much do you get paid to do this? How much? Well, we live in a world where you have to eat and you have to keep a roof over your head. Okay, unfortunately, you have to make a living, right? That's just the way the planet functions. Unfortunately, you need to make money in order to live on planet Earth. So when you say, oh, you got a book coming, oh, you wrote a book about it, oh, interesting. In other words, well, everything you wrote is nonsense because you're doing it for the money.
Why aren't you giving it away for free?
Yeah, give it away for free, of course.
When James Randi or Patrick or Richard Wiseman or someone, one of the skeptics, writes a book and they sell it. No one ever brings up that point. Interestingly enough, I mean, I've been to a skeptic conference.
Very good, very good.
It's exactly the same as any UFO conference. There's a merchandise hall with books, T-shirts,
totally
everything there, and all the skeptics are promoting their book. And that's
excellent point, Ben. That's an excellent point. You're absolutely correct. Yes, it's a very one-way point of view. I mean, you got to figure too. These people that are going into this disclosure project and these high-ranking officials and people, who are very well-to-do in prominent public roles, and they're going to come out and talk about little green men and aliens and spaceships. Fuck yeah, you want $20,000. I mean, what's the rest of your career going to be like after attending this? You're probably done.
And could I also say, the fact that these people, I mean, there was Congresswoman Kilpatrick. She was rather sceptical, and I didn't think much of her. But Senator Mike Gravel was brilliant. And what's more, he's got, these are very experienced. He's older. These are old people, and they are retired congressmen and women. And also, not only that, but this so-called mock hearing, one of the witnesses and one of the people involved was one of the last surviving people who took part in the official congressional hearings in the 60s, and that is Stanton Friedman. Right. He took part in the official congressional hearings a long time ago. Well, he was involved in this one. So there's a crossover between the original official hearings and the ones they've just had. Yeah. The citizens' hearing. So I'll shut up now because honestly I will go on about this for the next 3 hours unless you shut me up now. So let the others speak.
No, Ben, I agree with you completely, and you brought up an excellent point as far as the money issue. The skeptics and the people that think all this is bullshit. They're quick to sell books and make appearances and charge for them, and nobody says a fucking word about that. Nobody. Stephen Hawking publishing all his rantings about relativity and space time and blah blah blah, and then he's going to go speak at UCLA. He's doing all that for free, of course. He's all his books are published for free just to get the information out there. And when he goes at a speaking event, where his computer says the black hole is, all this nonsense, it's all he does that for free out of the goodness of his heart. He's not making any money. Please. This is the flip side. These people are making money hand over fist with this shit too. You got to live, people.
Isn't that the root of the problem here? Not the root of the problem, but like the main. When you had to pay to watch this, and I was thinking about that too, and I agree. You have to make money, and they're not going to do it for free. But shouldn't this all just be out there?
Well, how do you get it? Dude, this is stuff that we face on Mindset too. How do we do this for free?
I know what you're saying, but I'm just saying, is that our world, our society? I'm going deeper with it. I mean, like
Joe, yeah, it's
very cheap.
We live in a society that's based on profit,
exactly.
It's based on finance, and unfortunately, as much as I hate it as well, whenever somebody says, "I've got a great message, I need to tell you, I'm going to be on, it's in my new book," I immediately get that. Oh, you got a book for sale, have you? Oh, okay. But you have to still listen to the message, and you got to look at it from the point of view where, well, they've sat there for 6 months, they've got no income, and they've written a book, and they hope they're going to make a few thousand from it to
live,
to pay their bills,
to live.
They're taking a chance. So, don't get me wrong, there are people out there that talk a lot of shit and put that shit in books, and those books are shit, and people buy that shit and believe it. So there's the flip side of that as well.
Can I add something? The actual webcast from the citizens' hearing, the access to the entire week was available for the equivalent of £2.46.
Oh, I'm not going to pay that.
Sky.
Oh, I'm not paying that. This should be free.
$3.80. $3.80, and you get the entire wet week. So you can watch the entire proceedings for 5 days. Now, that's better value than Sky, not only in timescale, but also in bloody content.
That's a rip-off, Ben. I'm not paying that. This shit should be free. Huh? They want me to pay? Huh? They're con men.
Yeah.
Come on. It's crazy. You can't win. I mean, look at Mindset Central in this show, right? We do all these shows for free. In other words, you can access all these shows for nothing. But look what it's costing to create these. I mean, not only is it costing our time and our effort, but the computers that we're using, the energy's not free. The electricity that it's running is not free. The hosting and the bandwidth for the site is not free. I mean, but I'm not paying. I'm not going to subscribe. Fuck that. I want it all for free.
Now, it's the best value, £2.46 I've ever spent. And what's more, I mean, Reeves is right. I agree with Reeves, right? You know, willing disclosure is impossible. I've explained on previous shows why I think that is.
Yeah.
But the fact is, it's something like the citizens' hearing. It raises the profile of the subject, despite people like this, people like Rachel Maddow and these other people like what's this woman's name?
Those people are
Alexandra Petrie.
They're irrelevant because they speak through ignorance. So they
I don't know what
Alexandra Petrie is slightly better, but I mean, basically, despite these people, I mean, it's going to raise the profile of the subject.
I don't know. I don't know if that's true though, Ben. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you're correct. Maybe it is going to raise the profile, but I'm kind of on the fence there because, in many ways, these kind of proceedings are just preaching to the choir. You know, the people that are going to be tuning into these shows and being rabidly involved are people that are already into it. The people that are going to be paying the $2 for the week's subscription to see these events are people that you don't need to convince them. They already know what the fuck's going on.
Well, the thing about this, we have a political precedent. Sorry, Joe, one sec. We have a political precedent now, which means that whenever someone brings this stuff up, I mean, the citizens' hearing is a U.S. constitutionally correct procedure, which we could, in future, whenever someone brings this subject up, we can refer back to.
Right. Okay.
We carried out a citizens' hearing.
No, I that's a fair point. Yeah, no, I would agree with that. But in many ways, these kind of show, like Stephen Greer last week, we talked about his Syria presentation. I mean, it really very much is preaching to the choir. I know that when these things make it into the mainstream, a small minority of people that are fast asleep will look up and think, "Oh, wait a second." But the vast majority will still, go with the flow. But I agree with both of you that this will never, ever, ever, ever be disclosed by the government. They have too much to lose. Now, Joe, you were going to say something? I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, I think that it skews the money thing. To me, skews all the evidence. I mean, look at the evidence and all these reports and witnesses, and I think there's some credibility there. And to me, that's why we shouldn't be at this point where we're questioning it. It should already be that this is what happened, and this should be disclosed to everybody. And we're being suppressed from getting this information. Why did the government come out before and make the reports public and then change things or manipulate things and I don't understand that.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's definitely a phenomena here. I mean, anyone who legitimately looks into it, like for real, you cannot come away thinking, this is all bullshit. There's no way.
I mean, and there's been documented sightings. I mean, and we had Phoenix Lights recently and all those, and those mass sightings and all that.
And anyone who says there's no evidence for the existence of UFOs either hasn't looked or is lying.
And it's not a question of whether they're from an outer, another world, or they're from here, or they're us, or the top secret technology, and things like that. It's just nobody knows.
Yeah.
And
let me get Alex. You've been quiet here. Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I've got a few. The first thing I would say, I think, is if we're talking disclosure. I mean, I accept there are loads of. Well, first of all, there's lots of individuals who are giving us information, and there's an awful lot of unexplained things or things that don't fit with the view that we're being presented with all the time. But if we're talking about disclosure, surely or any form of it, surely we're talking about government, aren't we?
Yes.
Well, and if it's that type of disclosure, then it's simple. It's motivation. Why would they? Because they're only going to give us things if they're going to profit from it. I mean, when we think things are for free or we want things for free, I think a large part of that with government is we feel we are paying. We're paying through our taxes.
Yeah.
So we've already paid for the information we should be given it, but it doesn't work like that. We're given what profits somebody else, what is deemed acceptable for us, and so does government have a motivation to tell us? Maybe, but not at the moment. They've got no incentive to tell us these things at all. And can I just mention something, a little side, but it just jumped into my head.
Sure, go ahead.
With Joe mentioned the Phoenix Lights. And I just thought, what a coincidence. Phoenix, and I'm going to my symbol thing, I'm afraid, but lights as in the sun, Phoenix lights. To me, that's a bit of a coincidence, actually. And this week we also had a solar plane touch down in Phoenix.
Yeah.
And I'm getting this feeling of it being staged. Now, I know the Phoenix lights happened; it was a huge phenomenon, but I'm getting this feeling of all these things just happening around the sun symbology to me. But maybe that's just my take on it. But as far as disclosure goes, no, we're not going to get it unless they're going to profit from telling us.
Right, and it's when you start thinking about these. I was just thinking about this stuff the other day, and I was thinking that everything that happens in the world, world events and all that, it's done purely to benefit those at the top of the pyramid. Everything. The financial institutions, the wars, the cuts, the this, the that. It's all done to benefit those at the top. We always go about the 1% and the 99%, the 99% being, us, the 1% being the people that run the planet. Everything is done to benefit the 1% and not the rest of us. Which is why we always see this, consolidation of power. Right, you see it in Europe, the euro and the countries all getting along, where for hundreds and hundreds of years before they were all bickering and fighting against each other. Last week, Ben posted a picture of McDonald's in the Philippines looking exactly like McDonald's in the U.S. and in London, and this consolidation of culture and power, bringing everything together, putting us all under the same roof, the same lid, everything being the same, and this is all done to benefit the 1%. This is not done to benefit us. Nothing in this world is done to benefit us. It's all done to benefit them. Any thoughts on that?
Even this disclosure, then
everything.
I mean, that's why I said if it's all, then why go through the motions? If this is not going to make a difference, why are we doing this? Because people are benefiting from it. People are, obviously there is money to be made, and
I'd like to say that why go through it, because it's always good to be seen. To have things to be seen to be working, even when they're not.
Well,
it's all about giving the masses the perception that things are ticking along and everybody's doing their thing. When in fact, there's a whole other agenda underneath doing what it wants to do. And yet we don't see that.
There was a great quote from years ago, and it's always stuck with me, and it does tie into this in many ways. Now, forgive me, I'm going to paraphrase here. I do not remember the name of the person who said this or the exact situation that it occurred, but it's still very valid. And it had to do with a local council or a local government running for a vote. And there was one guy who represented a minority of people that were desperately against the main person running. And he said, I'm going to run against him in the campaign. And everyone turned to him and said, but you're going to lose. There's no way you can win this campaign. And he said, yeah, I know. And they're like, well, if you're going to lose and there's no way you can win, why are you doing it? Why are you going up against him? And here's what he said. For the record. And I think that's valid here. Doesn't matter. It's being done for the record. Win or lose, it shows that there are people out there that know what's going on. All right, guys, let's wrap it up for this week's edition of the Mindset Podcast, episode 150. Let me go around, everyone, see where you can all be discovered on the internet. So let me start with Ben this week. Ben, where can you be found?
Hospital Porters Against the New World Order. Panwo.blogspot.com and various associate websites.
Any new videos this week coming up?
Well, yeah, I've actually I took a trip to Hull. I was invited to speak at the Truth Juice organisation there, so I travelled to Hull and did my little stage show, which is very interesting. I kept my clothes on, don't worry. And the video of that is now available on Herpanwo TV. Ben, the JR Porter on YouTube. There's links on the Herpanwo site to that.
Very good. Joe, where can you be found?
Well, I do enjoy watching Ben's videos on YouTube as well. Just watch that one, Ben. Good one. And you can find me on YouTube.
Mate.
Yeah, I'm one of your subscribers, man. But check out youtube.com/FL Trailblazer or Florida Trailblazer on there. Find me on there. And then I do some really cool hiking videos. And recently I've been finding a lot of neat historical areas, and I've been posting them on there, so you need to check those out. And go to mindsetcentral.com and check out Mindset Radio Hour. New episode just posted. And Mindset Daily.
Very good. And Reeves, where can you be found?
Paranorm.info and Mindset Central.
Paratalk. Very good. And finally, Mr. Alex Fate, where can you be discovered on the internet?
I'll still be at alexfate.com. Quite simple.
Very good. All right, guys, thank you so much. Another great show, another great topics. Great to talk to you all once again. And we'll be back again next week with more topics, more conversation. And until then, farewell, good brothers.